Hello, it is just past 12 and I need to go for a run. It's been way too long. I think the last run I did was 10 days ago and that's not good. And I was meant to run the 10k today. I think I mentioned about this free race and I really had every intention to go. Although in hindsight, it's probably better that I didn't because I haven't run in 10 days and I think it would be terrible to go from not having run in so long and the longest run I've ever done being an 8k to trying to do a 10k. But equally, I hate it. I hate having signed up for something and then not following through with it. But it's kind of their fault because or maybe I misread something to be fair, but I didn't quite realise about the whole bib collection. I didn't realise that that was a necessity. And then once I did realise it, I said I'll pick it up on a Sunday and then they cancelled the Sunday pickup. And so the only day you could pick it up was a Saturday, which I can't do because of Shabbat. So it's kind of my fault, kind of their fault, bit of both. I have zero motivation to run today. Even getting changed required a lot, but I've got to do it. I've got to do it. I'm going to try and do 5k. That's sort of my goal. I don't really care how fast or slow it is. I just want to do 5k, which realistically, shouldn't be more than 40 minutes. And I feel like that's doable, hopefully. In fact, I'll put it into my phone even. So I'm going to warm up because I haven't done that yet. And then I'm going to go and just do it. Just do it. Because I have a very busy few weeks up ahead and I don't know how much running I'm going to get to do in the next 3 weeks. So we've got to take the opportunities that we can. Let's go for it. Hello, that was a really surprisingly good run. I felt as soon as I sort of left the house that it was going to be a good run. Or maybe not necessarily a good run, but I felt like I was starting off strong. I've mentioned before that sometimes I start running and immediately I feel like short of breath. And I didn't have that today. So that's a win. I ended up technically doing 6 kilometers, although the last kilometer was really a bit of a lost cause. But this is the first time I'm running from this place, which is a little bit nearer to the park and entirely downhill. And I think that gave me sort of the push and made it a bit easier to get further. So I did a full 2.5 kilometers without stopping. And I know that because it made a little voice to say you're halfway and I had not stopped running, which I was really proud of because it really didn't feel like a struggle. And then I walked for a very short while, very short, and finished the 3rd kilometer also running. Until the last kilometer, because the last kilometer was really mostly walking because that was then uphill. Until the last kilometer, so in the 5 kilometers, my average tempo was 6:28, which I think is much faster than usual. In fact, I wonder if I can check. Yeah, usually the fastest I've done that I can see is 6:45. So to get 5 kilometers at 6:28 is very good. The 6:45 was also a 6 kilometer run. But in the end it was 6:43 because of that last kilometer and I did 40 minutes. And I can see this is really interesting. My 4th kilometer was a little bit slower, but actually my 5th kilometer was a lot faster. Almost consistent with my 3rd kilometer, which I think is very impressive. I did push in the 5th kilometer because I was so close to getting to 30 minutes. I think in the end it was 32 something. And I think that was my fastest 5 kilometer as well. Let me just check. No. That's interesting. I wonder what my fastest 5 kilometer was. Because it must have been close. I think it was 32 minutes. I may have said that already. But yeah, I was really, really pleased with that because I totally was not expecting it to be as easy as it was. I ran so much more than I usually do. And that feels great, especially when it's been 10 days since I last did any running or exercise, full stop. So I feel really good about that. Although I've just had a look and I vaguely remember mentioning the 31 kilometers in December thing that I was going to try and do. And I'm currently at 19, so I need another 12. And I just don't know when I'm going to have time to run. I think Friday morning I will, but I won't do 12 kilometers. I think it'll have to be 2 runs. I do think it's doable, but it's going to take, I don't know, I'll need to see because I have such little time off. Yeah, Friday I can definitely do. Oh, and then Sunday morning I've got free, so I can do Friday and Sunday morning. And then I basically don't have any other time. No, literally, I do not have another day aside from those 2 mornings. So we're gonna have to hit 31 in those 2 runs. But that's the update. I will see you probably on Friday. Bye! Hello, I'm about to go for a run. I have very little motivation, as always, and I'm leaving a lot later than I would have liked, probably an hour and a half later than I would have liked, but I'm just going to set myself a goal of 5 kilometers and then there's going to be messages. And then come back, shower, and hopefully have enough time to chill before Shabbat comes in. Let's go, yay! Hello, I'm back from my run. To begin with, it felt really good, really strong. And then when I kept running until the 2 kilometer mark, and I was like, that was a stretch and I had to stop. Not stop altogether, but stop running. But overall, I do think I was pretty consistent again and did more running than walking. I feel like I'm definitely getting better at running as opposed to having to stop and walk. I reached 6 kilometers again, although I have to say the last 100 meters of that, I think it didn't calculate because I was doing lots of tiny little circles near my home just to get to 6 kilometers because I was at 5.9 something. And I think I was doing that for about 2 to 3 minutes and it should not take that long to do 100 meters. So I was a bit annoyed about that. And in fact, I can see on the map that it didn't measure those circles as movement. It thought I'd just stopped, which is so annoying. But generally speaking, I can see it's far more consistent and my lowest tempo at any given moment was at 10 minutes, which is usually it's 14. I say usually, I haven't checked it in a while, but I know the first few runs it got down to 14, 15. So to bring it up to 10 is good. I can see my averages for every kilometer were slower than the last run I did last Sunday when I felt really good about it, but it's still better. And my first kilometer was in 5.5 minutes, which I think is very decent. I've got a little thing here that says 6. Oh, I've gone 6 weeks non-stop. Pretty pleased with that. And it wasn't too bad, it wasn't too difficult. Although, around, I would say the 3 kilometer mark, maybe even less or more, I don't know. Around the 3 kilometer mark, give or take 500 meters, I could feel that the nail of my little toe, my tiny little toe on my left foot, was digging into my ring toe on my left foot. And it was really annoying and it didn't go away. And when I took my socks off, I could see that that little toe was all bloody, which is not great. But I feel good about that, and because I did 6 kilometers now, I've only got 1 day left, I think, that I can run, and in that 1 day, I'm hoping to reach my 31 kilometers for December. And I feel like that's more doable now, because I think it's only 6 kilometers that I've got left to get. I feel like my average this month has been to run 6 kilometers. Yeah, I've got just under 6 kilometers that I need to reach, so that's definitely doable. And I mean, my average tempo for this run was also, again, not better than the last one, because the last one was really good, but better than most of the ones before that. So yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pleased with myself, and I'm glad I went. Oh, and I've run a total of just over 100 kilometers, 101.9. Pretty cool. So yeah, that's where we're at. And I will probably see you one more time this month, I think. And that'll have to do. In fact, I think I swapped my shift with someone on one of the Sundays, so I'm working the evening instead of the morning. So maybe I've got another morning run I can do. Maybe we've got 2 more runs this month. We shall see. I'll see you soon regardless. Or maybe that was this Sunday. Maybe that was the one that I hadn't accounted for. I don't know. We'll have a look. Bye. Hello. I'm gonna go for a run. I have no motivation. I know I say it every time, but I really feel like I don't. I've just spent the last hour in bed. Not sleeping, but on my computer in bed. And I just feel really lazy. And I'm wearing this. I mean, I'm wearing my sports stuff underneath, but I was wearing my pajama top because it was cold. And I don't want to get out of it. It's so soft and comfortable and cozy. My goal theoretically for today is to do 6 kilometers, but we'll see. We will see. My high goal is 6 kilometers, but if we stop at half an hour, I'll accept that. It's only because I want to get to the 31 kilometers today, 31 kilometers in December. But we shall see, because I am not feeling it. It is a really nice day, it is very sunny, but I do think it's also quite windy because I keep hearing the trees rustle. So actually, let's check what the temperature is. 6 degrees. Oh, and it's gonna rain soon. Sounds like it's really windy. And when I say soon, I mean in the next 2 hours, so I've got time. Oh, it feels like 2. It feels like 2 degrees. Nice and warm. Oh, look at that. Speaking of the sun, wow. So yeah, I need to do a bit of a warm-up because I've not done any, and after my run on Friday, I definitely felt my legs were very sore, my calves specifically, and the inner side of my calf, which is always the place that hurts the most. And it's a hard place to stretch, I find. But right, let's do this thing. Yay. Hello. It was cold when I went out. It was cold and incredibly windy. I did have my zip-up jumper on, or jacket, I suppose, but it was cold. I was mostly worried about my hands, actually, because obviously they're out, but I survived, and very quickly I got warm, and also I think the wind slowed down a bit, but it was definitely cold. I think before I left I said that my calves were sore. My right calf is so sore. At around the 2 kilometer mark, I want to say, or just after, I was seriously worried. I was like, am I gonna have to stop because I don't want to injure myself? I did keep going and it did get more and more sore. It feels like it's tight more than anything. That feels like a stretch I need to do. And I don't think I injured myself, but obviously I just need to be very careful now and really stretch thoroughly. This definitely didn't feel like an easy run. Getting to 2 kilometers was a struggle. I did it, but as soon as I hit the 2 kilometer mark, I stopped. And I think my average speed, even for the first kilometer, was slower. But you know what? I reached my goal. I did exactly 6 kilometers actually. As I was getting home, it was 5.94. And initially I said to myself, if I get home at 5.75, fine. But because I was at 5.94, I thought I can do 60 meters. So I just ran up and down once and then that was it. And I finished bang on 6 kilometers and I think also bang on 40 minutes, maybe give or take 10 seconds. So, you know, overall, I can't say I'm thrilled with that run, but I ran. And again, it was far more consistent with my running. Like, obviously I did the first 2 kilometers fully. And then after that, I did 3 laps, or not 3 laps, 3, I don't know what they're called, like lines, I suppose, and then walked 1 and then 3 and then 1. And I kept doing that. I never had to stop more. Occasionally I ran more, but I never walked more. And that feels good that, you know, I'm getting better at running. I said that in the last one as well, I think. So I think I've got next Sunday as well that I can run. We'll see if I do, because it's gonna have been the end of a very long week for me and the start of another sort of reasonably long week. But it would be good if I could. Especially because, unlike most people, the first week of January is going to be a lost cause for me. It's going to be an absolute write-off. I imagine the first week of January is when most people do their running because they've got resolutions and whatever. But I don't think I'll be doing any running that first week. Anyway, I'm going to keep stretching and I will see you hopefully next week. And as always, I don't think I've mentioned it yet in this video, but please do remember that you can donate. We're getting very close now to the actual race, especially by the time you're seeing this. I think there's like a month left, maybe even less. So please, please, please help me get to my goal, my fundraising goal. It's not for me, it's for charity. Even just £1 or £2 would be amazing. Please, thank you very much. Look at all the pain I'm putting myself through for this. Come on, give me £1 or £2. Anyway, I'll see you later. Good morning, welcome to the final run of the month and of the year. I am absolutely not in a mood to go running. It is very cold. It's cold inside the flat. It's apparently 1 degree outside. But I woke up earlier, which meant I had breakfast earlier, which meant I could go for my run earlier. So I'm just gonna go for a run, go for a short run. I think I'm gonna say half an hour, which realistically will end up being 5 kilometers, but like that's fine. Even if it's not, even if it's 4.5, whatever. My hair's a mess, that's all right too. But I just really want to run because I'm not gonna run probably for another 2 weeks or so. I do really want to be gentle and careful because after the last 2 runs I did last week, my calves and ankle have been really, really sore. Not like impossible, but kind of like almost I can feel that if I push it too far, something will snap, and I don't want that. But I found this website that had tips for warm-ups, and of course it said don't do static stretching, which is more or less most of what I've been doing the last, well, many runs, every run. But it's given a list. It's got squats, which I have been doing, lunges, and then like calf raises, which is what I was just doing. What else does it say? What else does it say? Glute bridges, which I haven't done. Hip hinges, which I can't quite visualize. High skips, I can do that. I like skipping. Leg swings, which I have been doing, although I haven't done today. Straight leg bounding, which again, I don't really know what that is. And another one called karaoke, which I think you need a bit more space for. But even just doing some of these will be good, I think. So I'm gonna do these for the next 5 minutes or so, then I'm gonna go for my run, hopefully be back in about half an hour, and then continue on with the rest of my day. Here we go, hello. That was tough. That was like annoyingly tough because it was only short. I only did 4.5 kilometers. I stopped more or less bang on half an hour. And to begin with, it wasn't so bad, but towards the end, I would say from about the 3.5 kilometer mark, my ankles were starting to get sore again, which was just like a little bit concerning. And I'm a bit worried that it's because of the way I run, which is not great. It was very cold when I went out, but as you can see, I've warmed myself up quite a bit. This always gets really red, which is strange because I wear the thing over the top and yet it still is very red, which is strange, but I don't know. I'm now rolling my ankles and then gonna do a couple of other cool down stretches and things. Then I'm gonna shower and wash my hair and then do all the rest of the stuff. And then I'll talk to you after about just the whole year, I guess. We'll finish up 2024's running and then start a new video in 2025. I'll see you soon. Hello. All right, I have showered and washed my hair and I'm all fresh and I've put the laundry on and we're feeling good. In the end, today's run was 4.67 and I'm very glad I listened to myself and stopped at half an hour. But equally, I forgot that it was a Sunday and you get a special badge when you do a Sunday 5K. And so now I kind of wish I'd done the extra, 300 meters just to get that badge. Ah well. As I said earlier, this wasn't an easy run, but I did it. And again, I ran for the most part. I think my average tempo was faster than a lot of the last, in fact, my fastest ever, I think. Whoa, let me just check. Yeah, my fastest ever by 10 seconds. That's crazy, I did not realise that. But obviously when I do a shorter run, my tempo's always gonna average out to be faster because the longer I run, the slower I get and the more I walk. I think once I get back from Ireland, I really need to focus on doing longer runs again because for the last however long, I've only been doing, up to 6 kilometres and I've not pushed myself further. And I really feel that's sort of what the next 6 weeks, 2 months before the race needs to be about. But I am expecting that in both January and February, I'm gonna have a bit more time off work and therefore have more time to run. So hopefully I can have a bit of a balance in a week where I do maybe 2 short runs and 2 slightly longer or whatever. I mean, I've been lucky to get 2 runs in a week at this month. So it'll be nice to at least do 3 a week. Now, because I only started this year, I can see how much I've done in the entire year. So let me just see where that is. I've done 112.6 kilometers, which is 22 runs, 13 hours and 46 minutes of running, and my average tempo was 7:26. Which is really interesting because the last few runs that I've done have all been under 7 consistently. But obviously some of those earlier runs were a lot slower. I mean, that first run was mostly walking. It's interesting. I feel like I have peaks and troughs when it comes to feeling and seeing change. Like on some runs, I'll get to the 2 kilometer mark without really struggling and that feels amazing. And then other runs, I barely even get to 1 kilometer and I'm struggling. And it's like, why do I sometimes go backwards? But I think that's just how it is. And today I really pushed myself a lot because there were people in the park and I always whenever I see a person, I make it my goal to run past them rather than be walking past. Now sometimes that's hard though. I think it was last week there were so many people in the park that I did just have to walk at points. But there were 1 or 2 couples who I kept sort of making sure that I would run past, and as a result it pushed me to go more than I thought I could or more than I wanted to. And at one point, this was really rude, at one point there was a couple coming towards me and they'd been a couple that I'd passed a number of times, and so again I was like, I just need to run past them and then it's fine. And then they stopped walking, which already was rude because I was like, now I need to put in even more effort. But then once I passed them, they turned around and walked in the same direction as me, so I had to keep running because I was like, I can't just suddenly stop. And it was great in terms of pushing me to run much further than I would have otherwise. Because then I ended up passing another couple and you're seeing them in the distance and being like, right, I need to pass them. Rather than a running coach, I just need people to be dotted around and that I can tell myself I need to get past them. But it was tiring. And again, my ankles, I just want to be very careful with them. As I say, I'm now probably going to take about 2 weeks off running. Not by choice, but just because I'm going to Ireland and I just don't think I'm going to have a chance to run then. But I do actually think it'll probably be good for my body to just be given a chance to reset. In terms of physically, aside from during the runs, my own body, I cannot see any change in terms of muscles or, losing weight or anything like that. And it's not the reason I'm doing this. I do not need to lose weight. I don't care about it, but it's just a really interesting reflection that even though in my runs, I can see that I've improved, physically, I don't notice any difference. One thing I keep trying to figure out is if my legs have got more muscly and less skinny. Not skinny as in flabby, if that makes sense. But it's hard to tell because usually the positions in which I would try and tell, they're tensed, so then it automatically feels less flabby. And again, I don't care, I'm just curious because you'd think after, after 22 runs over the course of 3 months, that there would be some sort of change. But maybe because it's such a slow process, I'm not being able to identify the change. Maybe someone who hasn't seen me for 3 months. In fact, my friend in Ireland won't have seen me the entire, since I've started running. So maybe they'll be able to see or feel a change. I'll just get them like to prod my leg. But yeah, I feel really, really good about where I'm at and the fact that even when I'm unmotivated, I do still run. Like I force myself to run. I just hope I figure out how to take better care of my ankles and my calves, and that I can, you know, consistently do longer runs and also keep running for longer, if that makes sense. I think the 1 hour goal for the race is just like completely unrealistic. I think the 1 hour 6 is a push, but I think it's a push that I could maybe reach if I push myself over the next 2 months. But it's also not something I want to like hold to myself too much, because I don't want to put that pressure on it and then be disappointed if I don't get 1 hour 6 or less. Like for me, at the end of the day, if I complete that race, I would say in less than an hour and a half, I'll be happy. And I just need to remember that. Like it's not about the time, it's about completing the race and doing it, and the fact that I've put in the effort and everything. Anyway, just one final reminder before I finish up this video that I do have a fundraising page, and I would so appreciate it if you could donate even just a couple of pounds, because that just would make such a difference, and it would, yeah, be fantastic. I mean, by the time you're watching this, it's probably less than a month until the race, so I really need donations to be able to reach my goal. And literally not a penny of it is going to me, it is all going to the charity. I had to pay money to enter the race so that it was also donated to charity, so it really isn't for me, it's for the charity, and I just really appreciate it. Anyway, that's all. Happy 2025, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!